everyone, Tanya Fox and Lily here from Crafty Crafters. We've had a lot of people coming in asking how to make Icord, so I thought I would quickly put up this video for the two ladies. So thank you to Barb and Cindy for the idea on how to do an Icord. So we're gonna get started. All you need are two double-pointed needles. I'm using larger ones. You can play around with the size depending on your yarn, but typically you would use the same size needle as the yarn that you want. I'm just using a little bit bigger so that you could see it better for the video. So let's get started. So you need two double-pointed needles and the yarn that you want to make the Icord out of. So what you're going to do is we're just going to use the knit stitch. So you're going to make your slip knot as you usually do. We do have another video on our YouTube channel if you want to know how to do that. And I'm just going to do a smaller cord just to do the sample here. So what you're going to do is you're going to cast on 4 stitches is what we're going to use for this Icord. Now you can cast on, the proper way to cast on is the way that you cast on. I don't believe that there's a right and a wrong way to casting on stitches. I think whatever way you do is the way that works. So you see we have 4 stitches here. Now here's the key to doing the Icord. We don't actually go back and forth on the needle. What we're going to do is we're going to push this to the other end. So I'm actually, my first stitch, it's almost like as if you're working in the round. My first stitch is actually going to be my last stitch. So we're going to go in there and you're going to grab your working yarn. Now you see that your working yarn is going to come across all of your stitches. That's okay, that's what we want it to do. And then you're just simply going to knit these stitches like you normally would. Now on this first stitch, as we get up a little higher, you're going to start to see it. I do tend to pull my yarn a little tighter because I want that the connection over to be stronger. So again, I don't turn my needle, I simply push it to the other end and go in. So you can see my working yarn is coming out here. I'm going to go into what would be considered my last stitch. And the more I get on here, the more you're going to be able to see it. So again, my working yarn is stretching over all of my stitches. So I want this one to be a little bit tighter. So tug it. Don't be scared to be too tight here. And then as you're knitting your row, you can just go to your normal tension. So again, you're just knitting these 4 stitches. And we are not going to turn. We're going to go just pull it to the end. So again, my first stitch is going to be what is considered my last stitch. So one more time, I go into the last stitch. I'm going to take my working yarn, pull it over all 4 stitches, pulling it a bit extra tight for that first stitch. And I'm going to knit all 4 stitches. And what you're going to do is you're going to repeat this until you want your Icord, until it's as long as what you want it. So we're going to do a little bit of a fast forward time warp here. I'm going to do some more rows so that you can see what it looks like when it gets a little bit longer. By the magic of television, we're back. So I just did about 15 rows, I would say, while we were on our little break. Lily was being so good. So here's what the Icord looks like as you go. So this is sort of what I call the right side because it's the nice one. And then this is the one where we crossed over. Now, one of the tips I will say is when you're done or as you're going, I always tug my cord a little bit. I find it, if you find it's not looking right, give it a tug before you take it apart and do it again. But this is essentially what your Icord looks like. So depending on the size of your needle and the size of your yarn depends how big of a rope you get. So this is great for doing it around bags, for handles, even for like tying up a jacket. There's good ideas. Now there are a few other you know, they always make different inventions for stuff. So this is called a French knitter. Now they come in all different sizes and shapes, and some are plastic, some are metal. They do pretty much the same thing. There is a little bit of a different technique to them. You also might remember your grandmother using, when thread used to come on actual wood spools, they used to put nails in the top of it, and then they would make cord that way. So these are all different variations, but of the same thing on Icord. So depending on how thick of it is that you want, these French knitters can come in really handy, or if you can manage to somehow find a wooden spool with some nails, those would work too. But by far, I think using the double pointed needles and just knitting it is probably my favorite way to do it. So don't forget, make sure you're not turning your work and that your yarn is always being pulled across all 4 of your stitches, and you're starting in your last stitch, and pull that first stitch really tight, and you too will have these beautiful I-cords that you can play with. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you have a video idea that you would like to see or a tutorial, please comment below and let us know. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.